Admiral, you mentioned Putin's response or lack of response to this anti-Semitic mob at the airport, but his spokesman reportedly said that yesterday's events were largely the result of outside interference and that the security meeting is in part to discuss attempts by the West to use the events in the Middle East to divide the Russian society.
Well, isn't that sweet? It's classic Russian rhetoric, isn't it? When something goes like bad in your country, you just blame somebody else, blame it on outside influences. The West had nothing to do with this. This is just hate, bigotry, and intimidation, pure and simple. And a good leader, a decent leader, would call it out for what it is, the way President Biden has called it out here in this country, instead of blaming the West for something and pushing it off to somebody else.
And as the IDF enters this sort of next phase of this conflict, the president again urged Prime Minister Netanyahu to act in a manner consistent with international humanitarian law. Does the president still feel, or does he feel that Israel is abiding by the rules of war?
Without getting into reacting to events on the ground in real time, which we're just not going to do, this is a conversation we consistently have had with our Israeli counterparts, and as you rightly note, it was part of the discussion yesterday with the Prime Minister, and you heard the Prime Minister today speaking in Tel Aviv about the efforts that they're undertaking to try to avoid civilian casualties. And I think that they certainly are making that effort. It doesn't mean that there haven't been civilian casualties. Tragically, there have been many, thousands of them. But unlike Putin in Ukraine, and unlike what Hamas did on October 7th, killing civilians is not a war aim of the Israeli Defense Forces. Their war aim is to go after Hamas terrorists.
But if the president
terrorists, I might add, that are using innocent Palestinians as human shields.
But is the president concerned that Israel is going to break the rules of war? And if not, why does the president feel the need to repeatedly bring this up in, it seems, every conversation that he has with him?
Because it's something that even the Prime Minister brings up in the conversations, that they both recognize that as democracies, it's important to abide by the law of war and to protect innocent life and to try to minimize civilian casualties. It's not a lecturing. It's a reminder from two leaders of two vibrant democracies that this is what separates us from folks like Hamas.